Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here. As usual, guys, wars popping off. There's a lot of different things going on. Is this just all by design? We're going to dig into it in this video. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey everybody, it's Bob with Trade Genius. Usually I do fun ads. I talk about our service, but I want to be serious with you for a second. We've been helping a lot of people trading for a long time. As you can see here, I want to let them do the talking for me for a change. But most importantly, we want to help you too. If you've not joined our service yet, come check us out, tradelikeagenius.com. Full service. You know, we have a chat room. We have the algorithms for you. We give trades out every day. We educate you. So go to tradelikeagenius.com. Check us out. What you get out of our service is much more than what you put into it, and we'd like to see you in the room. Thanks for listening.
Okay, Bob, so Iran retaliated. Looks like it's over, though. We saw a little blurb that at least on the surface they said that this is done. But, then we see stuff like, and I don't know if this is very commonly known, but Yellen's threatening China with sanctions if they start getting involved with Russia and the Ukraine conflict. So what's going on?
I'm just wondering, are these guys just stupid, desperate, or is this all by design? We never directly intervened in the Israeli conflict, at least to the extent that we're intervening today. Between us and the British, I think we shot down over 100 of Iranian drones. And, Iran saying it's finished, look, I don't buy that, because they knew these drones were going to get shot down. So I just think we're going to get a lot of psychological warfare here. But the thing I'm more worried about is if Iran did something on our shores, or I'm going to show you a slide here during the presentation a little bit later. If Israel did something to this place, then we know this is real and not some sort of sideshow. You want to throw it up here now. This is Karg Island in Iran. This is where 20% of the oil exports that Iran pushes out on tankers leaves their shores. It's 8 square miles. Israel could take this island out sleeping. And so I just don't think that this conflict is really real unless that gets taken out, or if Iran goes for the jugular and tries to drop some ballistic missiles into Tel Aviv or into Jerusalem just to prove a point. What I'm more worried about, Phil, is what's happening in Asia. And look at the Japanese yen. I think this is and I'd like to get your comments on it because you're more a Forex guy than I am, but this doesn't look good. And I just don't understand, how they're going to be able to keep all the balls in the air with our treasuries at, pushing 4.58%. And you have this thing with the Japanese yen. And then this final slide here, and then I'll throw it to you for a little bit, is that we're going to go for the jugular on China. We're going to start sanctioning their banks. We're going to start sanctioning their people. They're almost trying to force China into some sort of economic retaliation against us to either A, cut off their exports to us, or B, cause so much chaos in the country that maybe they are trying to gain control over the population before the next election, or have their blame game set up for it. So what do you think about all this, Phil? Do you just think this is absolutely insane or what?
In terms of the USD JPY, I would imagine they're going to intervene here pretty quickly. Usually when we get to this level with the USD JPY, there's a lot of intervention that goes on and they strengthen the yen. But we haven't seen it yet, and we're pushing into some pretty rare air here in terms of where this is going. They're not in a good spot. Their yen being as weak as it is really puts a lot of inflationary pressures on their population. So that's a big issue, and I think Japan's going to have to deal with that. And you know how this stuff always goes. It starts to brew several months before everything comes to a head, right? So I feel like we're just getting all these pieces in place, and I really think this all is going to play a part later in the year when things really start hitting the fan. In terms of this Chinese sanction stuff, this is really escalatory in my opinion, because now, and I understand they're trying to hold the line with Russia and this stuff, but this is really starting to cross the line into where, things get really dicey. That's been the BRICS fans have always said that, US sanctioning Russia, right, and freezing assets was always kind of undermined the dollar dominance at least from on the surface, because now you can't trust the US, and we need to find something outside of them because they're asserting too much control over other people's assets. And if they're going this route with China, I could for once maybe really buy into where this could be a strengthening for like the BRICS scenario. But again, who's going to back who in that system, right? You need to have a world reserve currency backed by essentially the biggest military on earth, right? That's what makes the world reserve currency the world reserve currency. So, but it's interesting. I just think we got a lot of things escalating, and I think that stuff doesn't happen right away, but it's these headlines under the radar that come together at once, and I think that's what's happening now. So, if the posturing here with China is one thing, if Japan's economic situation is deteriorating, that's another thing. You have conflict in the Middle East. Iran says it's over. I think it's destabilizing what happened today, and I think it's going to continue to destabilize over there. So then, do we get sucked into a war? I think at the end of the day, when all of this starts to hit the fan and markets are going to take a hit, it may play into our recession and it gets drawn out. At the end of the day, though, ultimately for me, I think we're going to see our, the central banks print their way out of this yet again, another mess. And I think that's where the end game is, and why, ultimately asset prices are going to go up out of all of this. But it's going to be super bumpy getting through the initial part of this, and whatever, escalation we see in terms of bear market drop and all that stuff.
Yeah, Phil, I think that's all well and good. And of course, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I just worry now because everybody thinks we tie everything into a nice bow here. We're going to go through, I think I talked about a little bit yesterday, is that there is a liquidity drain happening now. At the same time, we can make a mistake in the Middle East and oil could pop. At the same time, the yen could collapse. At the same time, the Chinese could escalate, or Russia goes ahead and does something stupid, and everybody's trying to push in long here to do the great blow off top, and we can actually go into reverse here. So my only thing is I'm just really, really cautious and concerned right now, with the way things are happening. And look at today. I mean, yesterday with the market is that, war drums were beating, and what happened was oil went down and gold went down and Bitcoin went down and the market went down and the bond prices went down. I mean, you sit there and your head was just spinning here like, okay, why is that happening? Is there something else happening on the horizon? There's so much leverage in the system that it doesn't even matter anymore. When people get scared, they can just bring the whole Jenga house down. And that's the thing I'm more worried about, is that your safe haven might simply be cash. But we'll let it play out. We're just talking macro here. But I pulled back about over 150K out of equities, going in. I had sold calls in the money on a bunch of stuff that protected my downside somewhat on Friday. And I just let all those expire, and I'm sitting in cash, and I'm trying to keep an eye on things here. I think April's going to be bumpier than people think. I think the earnings aren't going to be as good as people think. And then we'll wait and see if we get that liquidity rocket, or if the Fed panics. That's the other thing too, Phil. They might be giving the Fed cover to lower interest rates to manage the worldwide chaos too. Then I think you'll get your 6 to 10 week rocket ship.
Yeah, I would agree. And I mean, even like you look at, as soon as they announced the war stuff was over in Iran, and Bitcoin just immediately shot back up. So, I mean, just extreme volatility. I don't think we're out of the woods yet on that. I think we're still going to see some extreme volatility. We'll see what the market brings on Monday. We could gap down possibly, but I do have a lot of bounce readings on things like Brett for the equity markets. So we'll see. Maybe this was just a weekend knee-jerk reaction. The one thing about weekend movements on Bitcoin, a lot of times on Monday, they'll try to come back and get those prints. So there's potential for like an echo drop, but I'm just watching the chart here. We almost recovered like 3/4 of today's drop, which was nearly $7,000. And now it's trading back up towards 65,000. So extreme volatility. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. Monday and next week should be really, really interesting for the market. So buckle up.
Buttercup. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Trade Genius.